What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Perfectly Blended Podcast, where my wife abuses me just as we're going live. I want to welcome you guys to today's show. We have a fun one for you today. This one is about how to be real in your relationship. When's that coming up?
Right now.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Perfectly Blended Podcast. This podcast is for blended families, for couples that want to strengthen their marriage and want a brighter future. Perfectly Blended exists to break the stigma of divorce, drop the shame and guilt holding you back, and equip marriages to thrive instead of just survive. We believe all that is possible in this life is based on the power of Jesus Christ and his ability to restore us fully. Let's dive in. Welcome to today's show.
You want to know what I think? I think one time...
We're just going to put all this paper over here on our table. Asked her to clean it off. She goes, no, it's real life. It's dirty. I'm like, no.
I did not say dirty. We just talked about this in our group.
What did we say? What did I say? What did you say?
Your ears sometimes don't filter the words that I say.
What did you say?
I said it's messy.
Messy. It's dirty and messy. But see, dirty and messy are the same thing to me. It's the same thing to me, okay? Dirty, messy, bleh. Like, she's like, it's real life. I'm like, okay, it is.
He's like, real life can be clean. And I'm like, and messy.
Conflict resolution
But
time.
I think one time, just for fun, for our podcast should be Josh and I have...
I don't know what she's going to say. I'm putting thumbs down. I don't know what it is.
Josh and I have a real disagreement, so you guys can see how we handle our disagreements. Because in our private group, we just did a conflict resolution, pointers or whatever for your marriage. And I think one time, him and I, if we have a disagreement, we'll be like, "Oh, can't talk about
it. We're bringing it live."
That way, you guys could see exactly how things get handled in our relationship.
See the sparks fly. See, we get to see Kristy get her way, but me be right, and that's how it works.
Is it Throw Punch Thursday yet?
Right. Have to table it. Gonna have to wait till Thursday. So today we're talking about how to be real in your relationship. How much more real can you get? It's funny. So if you haven't downloaded the app yet, I'm not telling you to do it. Okay. I'm not saying that, but I just think it's a funny play on words. So Be Real is an app that you can download. Who even told us about this? Somebody was over.
Okay. So with one of my foot things, I had just gotten home from the hospital, and Josh was a very bad husband and didn't. Whoa. He said celebrate recovery was more important than staying with his wife who just got home from the hospital.
Did I say that?
No.
Did I say that?
But his actions proved it.
Oh, there we go.
So he ended up going to celebrate recovery. And as he's walking into the church, one of my friends that was walking out on the worship team was like, "Where's Kristy?" And he's like, "She's at home." And so she came over. She surprised me to spend time with me, so I couldn't be alone. And she was sitting there. No, Shelly.
Oh, Shelly.
I was sitting there talking, and out of nowhere, she's like, "Oh, time to be real." And she's like this. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" So yeah, that's how I heard about it.
So it's an app anyway that says be real, and be real means you're supposed to take a picture at the exact moment that the message comes up that's on your phone. And the whole point of that is it's kind of like being real, right? You don't have time to set up or have these perfect pictures. Yeah. And it takes a selfie and a front camera picture all at the same time. I don't know. Anyway,
let me add to it.
Okay, here we go.
So the fun part about it is an app, but a lot of times people are like, another app. And that's because people get on TikTok and then they scroll for hours or whatever. Be Real is not this way. So it only goes off one time randomly throughout the day.
Yep.
One time and it goes off. And it's like, if you go on there, you can take a picture. It takes a front picture and a picture of you. So both direction picture and post it. And it is, you can only see your friends' posts if you post. So you have to make a post in order to see your friends' posts. But the only people that can see your posts are the people that you're quote unquote friends with, on Be Real.
Yep.
And it's not like you can't post late. So 5 hours after it went off, I am like, oh, I have a notification on Be Real. Oh, I missed it. I was busy, whatever. You could take a picture then and see everybody else's pictures. But I don't have 100 friends on there. I have 5. Because not many people know about this app. So it's fun because I'll be in the middle of doing something and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, Be Real. Yeah,
as always, you get these candid, weird work pictures from everybody.
like
it's kind of funny. Right, duck lips and a peace sign, right? Because we're old. All right, so today we want to talk about being real in your relationship. Now, if you notice in the title, the word real is all capitalized. It's because I came across something recently from a Dr. Matt Townsend. So if you haven't had an opportunity to see his TED Talk, you just Google or go to YouTube and type in Dr. Matt Townsend and a bunch of stuff come up. But he's a relationship coach, been doing it for a couple decades. He's got some stuff that I came across and I thought was pretty interesting. And I thought it would be really cool to kind of talk about how he breaks down the word real when it comes to having communication within your relationship. So I thought this would be really cool for us to really kind of talk about.
And I love acronyms.
And acronyms are easy to remember. They're fun, but these points are so good. They're like really, really, really good. So we really want to kind of break them down. So we have 4 of them today that we're going to talk about and share with you guys. So let us know what you think. Let us know if you hate them. Give us a thumbs down, whatever it is that makes you happy inside your hearts. Okay, so the acronym is REAL, R-E-A-L. We're going to start with, I guess we'll start with the first letter, R. Why not?
That's a good place to start.
Let's just go right with the beginning. Okay, so R stands for recognize emotion. Recognize emotion. And the point of it after that is I see you, right? That's the purpose of recognizing emotion. This lets the other person know that you care about how they feel.
Yeah. And if you've seen Avatar, they say that. I see you, Jake Sully.
There we go.
That's what
you're welcome, Avatar.
That's when they're saying, like, I see you, I recognize you. And that is important to recognize the emotion, and it lets them know, hey, it takes the guards down if you could say, okay, I understand you're upset. Because if a person's talking, and then you're just talking back at them, it's like the person feels validated when you say, hey, I understand you're upset. Yep. And then the person backs down a little bit. Like, okay, they understand I'm flustered or I'm frustrated or whatever that is. So it lets them know that you understand, you get it.
You're there with them on that, and I think it is important when we are in the middle of some type of discussion with somebody that we really care about, like our spouse, that the main thing that we want right out of a conversation is to be understood. And that's the truth, right? Sometimes it isn't even about being right. It's just about being understood or being heard. And when you let your partner know, like, hey, I see what's going on. I see that you're having an emotional reaction to this. And I want you to feel validated in that moment.
Don't say that though.
Probably not like that, right? That would probably be unhelpful. Like, I want to break this down for you, right? But
if he's like, I see you're having an emotional reaction to this, I'd be like, I'll show you emotional
like reaction. Screaming calm down at your spouse when they're upset. Calm down! Right? That's always helpful. Super helpful. But the point of it is you want to let your partner know, your significant other know that, hey, I see that, there's some emotion going on here, and I want you to know that I see you. Like, I see what's going on with you right now, that I'm not just waiting my moment to respond. We know how that is in conversation. And that, like Kristy's saying, that really takes the wall and lowers it just enough to where our intimacy and our connection really has an opportunity to come a little bit closer, because that's really where the resolution really lies, is in our ability to really seriously connect in an intimate way on that level, right?
Yeah, and Josh has said that to me before. Like, if I'm upset about something, Josh has, I think, actually verbalized, like, hey, I understand you're upset, and I can understand how you could be upset, but I do want you to know that's not how I intended it, or that's not what I meant by it. So it's in turn, it's validating my feelings. He understands that I'm upset, and then he's also turning around and trying to explain to me, but it wasn't my goal to hurt you, or it wasn't my goal to upset you, which then at least puts me in a different frame of mind to be able to hear him out, because I understand and feel validated that he understands that I'm upset and could see how I could be upset.
I've done it a couple times too, where like if we're in a deep conversation, I feel like she's really on guard and super upset, I will stop her and tell her, look at me, look at my eyes, look at my eyes. And I'll be like,
take your shirt off.
Right. Well, I don't have to look her in the eyes for that. But, I tell her, like, look at me. And I want her to know, I'm like, I know that you're upset. I hear you. I know what's going on. Like, I want you, I'm not skipping over what's going on with you. And that really almost to a level almost brings tears to her eyes, because like that's the frustration is just building and building and building and building. And that happens in relationships.
Because what do we do when we're mad, girls, especially if we're in the car? We look out the window.
That's right.
Like,
bring it back. Solution's not out there.
So it's like, I don't want to look at you right now. That's
finding burial spots. Like, where's the cornfield I can bury this guy? Like,
I don't look at you. I'm just super frustrated. Yeah. And I'm like,
yeah, for real. But it's important, right? Recognize the emotion, and I know that's really hard for guys, but it's so important for guys. Speak female. Like, it's really important. Like, when guys, don't get us wrong. Like, we get super emotional. We want to be right. Like, we're like, no, we're going to die on the hill for whatever we're discussing right now. I'm not backing down anymore. And we get really emotional attached to it. But if we can really slow ourselves down and really let our spouses, let our wives know, like, hey, you know what? I see you right now. I see what's going on. I see that you're really upset about this, and I care about, coming to a conclusion to this that works best for both of us. You'd be surprised the impact that it has on your relationship and on the discussion that you're having at the moment.
So recognize emotion.
Yep. I see you.
Yep. So if you're saying, you don't need to say like Avatar, like, I see you.
Maybe.
You don't need to say that.
Maybe you need a t-shirt that says I see you. Okay. Number 2 says, E stands for explore their story. Explore the story. And the phrase for that is, I hear you. I hear you. This allows you to dig deeper into the why. Dig into the why.
So, and if you really think about this, after we get to the end, we'll recap, of all the letters. Obviously, no surprise, it's going to be REAL. Okay, we kind of already gave that away.
It's going to end with an L. Just
But if the first time is, the first step is to recognize their emotion. Like, hey, I see that you're upset, or hey, I see that you're sad, that I hurt your feelings. Mm-hmm. Then the second step would be to understand, like, hey, I kind of preempted into that. Like, hey, I see that you're really upset, and I can see why, or can I understand why you are upset, but I didn't intend it that way. But why don't you tell me? I'm willing to listen to you. I'm willing to hear you out, but I want you to know that it's never my intentions to hurt you. But now that you have been hurt, I want to talk to you about it. Yeah. And that's an important thing to de-escalate a situation.
It is. And the famous phrase like therapists will always use is, tell me more. Tell me more. Tell me more.
And how does that make you feel?
Right. Probably don't do that. But I would say, the whole tell me more thing makes sense. Like, you want to get down to the basis of what's going on, and you want to let your partner know, I really want to hear what's going on with you. And when we're at the top, where it's really emotional and there's a lot of conflict going on in the conversation, and you slow it down enough and say, look, I just want you to know, I want to get to the bottom of whatever it is that you feel or think about what's happening. Right? Which means you're going to table your own feelings and emotions in the moment. Mm-hmm. It's telling your partner, I actually care about the way that you see or view or feel about the situation of whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And this really does offer an opportunity for you to then share how you feel and think, and then really come to a real serious conclusion to something. So exploring their story, it's really, really, really important. I hear you.
Their perspective, really. Mm-hmm. Is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And number 3 is attend to the deeper issue.
It's the A.
It is the A. Sorry. Thought you'd get that when I said attend. Okay. Attend to the deeper issue, which means I feel you, right? Be compassionate about the real reason they are upset. Don't focus on the surface stuff, right? And this guy uses an analogy that I really love. It says, don't focus on the smoke, focus on the fire.
He does love it because he uses it all the time.
I've used it like twice.
No.
Like, okay, let's take it
That's
easy.
all I.
Let's argue. Okay, so let's focus on the smoke. So the point of it is if something's burning, you don't worry about getting rid of the smoke, you worry about getting rid of the fire, right? And so when you say, I want to attend to the deeper issue, right, you really want to get into the feel of what's going on. You really care about getting to the basis of it. Most arguments really start off with a core issue, but never get argued about, never get discussed. We always argue about the argument, and that's where all the smoke lies. So it's important that we attend to the deeper issue in our conversation.
Yeah, so a lot of times if I come home from work, or maybe it's been a long week or something like that, and we, get into a heated debate about something. A lot of the times he has really good tips and tricks to be able to get me to talk about what happened. Usually I got frustrated, or I had a bad day, or I had to deal with a high conflict issue at work. And so I'm already like emotionally spent or something like that. Or maybe, I know that moms just don't do this, but I can only relate to moms because I'm not a dad. But I am worrying about something like, what if this, what if that? And I have all these worries in my brain. And then he says something to me that may trigger maybe a worry, or that could prelude to one of the worries. And then I get upset about it. And then he's like, why are you so upset? And then the more we talk about it, it comes out to that's something that I've been worrying about for 3 weeks about one of our kids or something. And then we need to talk about that. Like, okay, well, let's talk about it. If that actually happened, you know, they got in a car accident or something and we needed to fix their car. What's the worst case scenario? What would we need to do to fix it? And then we talk about that.
Yeah.
And he doesn't worry like, why are you so mad? And then worrying about why I'm mad in that moment.
Yeah.
He talks to me about like, you normally wouldn't get that upset about something. So let's talk about it. What else is going in your mind? Asking open-ended questions. He's very, very good at asking me questions to figure out what's wrong with me. Better than me. I'm like, oh yeah, that is what's wrong with me.
Well, you have to understand, like in a relationship, it's easier for guys to do this stuff, right? Because we just want to hurry up. And Kristy mentioned it before we even got on today. Like, just tell me what the problem is. Let's just skip all the emotion around it. I know you're mad. I just want to solve why you're mad. Let's just get to that, right? You didn't want my underwear on the floor. Great. I'll put them off the floor. They're not on the floor anymore. They're in the basket. You should be happy. And I understand that's what guys want to do. But we haven't earned the right, really, to kind of ask our spouse to dig deeper unless we've done some of the other things first, right? I see you. I hear you. I'm with you. I understand you. Tell me more of what the way that you feel and think and what's going on, instead of jumping right to this letter, right to the letter A of saying, okay, let's just dive to the bottom, figure it out so we can get over this and I can go golf or hunt or whatever it is that we do, right? And we don't want to skip over that. We want to understand this is a process of intimacy. We really want to get our relationship to a point to where we don't have to have these smoke talks all the time that, you know, when there's a fire, we just talk about the fire, you know, and we're not arguing about the smoke all the time. And I think it's important that we recognize where we're at in the process in all of our relationships with all of our discussions with our spouse, because some of us are good at some of these and really stink at other parts.
I just love that you use the underwear thing as an example because it is so true. So many women that I talk to, and in that movie, The Breakup, which we still never have done a podcast on it, which we need to do.
Yeah.
But it's so funny because he doesn't do that. Okay. But I understand a woman's thought processes behind it. Like she comes in, she finds his underwear on the floor for the 100th time, right? And she's so mad. And then the guy is just like, okay, here, like I picked him up. Okay, we're done. And it's like, no, why is she so mad? Like, how many things does she ask you to do or depend on you to do to not be one of the extra children in the house that she has to care for, but to care for yourself? And you just blatantly disregard it. Don't think about it. She feels like she's dismissed. She feels like she's not listened to overall in the relationship as a whole. Yeah. So it doesn't have anything to do with the underwear on the floor. It has everything to do with the overall feeling that she has in the relationship. If you cared for her and catered to her and listened to her all the time, and then she found your underwear on the floor, I guarantee you she would not be mad. She'd pick them up and put them in the basket and nothing would be said about it.
No, literally, if she's feeling heard and feeling seen, she's not going to care so much about that. And I think that's really important to understand. Like, the goal of our communication in our relationship is to bring us closer together. And it's like, we tell people all the time, tell couples that we coach, we tell them all the time, we're like, these things don't last forever. Like these big discussions, these bathroom talks that you're going to have for 3 and 4 hours at a time, or this real process that you're going to work through, doesn't have to be long and arduous for a very long time.
Just in the beginning.
It's just in the beginning until you work out and say, hey, I'm somebody that actually is going to listen to you. I'm somebody that actually is seeing what's going on with your concerns. And then we can kind of skip some of this stuff later and kind of jump into the problem, because I
want to partner with you.
Yeah, right. And I actually want a fair compromise outcome of this. Now, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have some hills you want to die on. We got all that.
Yeah.
And that's when you need to say, okay, this is how we actually deal with that. We go back to being real with it, which is this acronym. Right? Attend to the deeper issue. So focus on the fire, not the smoke. I think it's important. And then the fourth thing is lift the conversation, right? It means I'm with you. Start every conversation with what you do agree on. What you do agree on.
So it's so funny because this is a common ground that you need to start with. And a lot of times when we're talking to couples, they'll say like, we don't agree on anything. Like this, not necessarily anything, but this one thing, we can't find anything common ground in it. There's no way that we're going to do it. Yeah. And it could be as simple as saying like, okay, are we going to let this thing right here going to make us get a divorce? And you both say no. Okay, there's common ground right there. So then that means you both aren't going to let this problem make you get a divorce. So you're going to sit, you both agree then that there has to be a resolution that's came to about this so you both can live in harmony about it.
Yep.
Yes, we agree on that. Perfect. Okay, there's common ground. So as soon as you start getting those little wins like that and a little agreements with each other, that's everything that you need to soften up your heart, to open up your mind, to open up your empath, the empathy, to see from the other person's side and know that you're on the same team.
Yep.
It's a whole psychological thing. And then say, yep, you're right. We can't let this, ruin us. We can't let this break us up. I mean, are we going to break up over it? No. So let's find a solution to it that we both can be happy with. You're both not going to be 100% skipping, absolutely loving the decision you came to. That's not what compromise is about. Compromise is you have to give in a little bit and give up and sacrifice a little bit. And so both of you are saying, okay, it's just something that we're not going to walk around and be bitter about. It's like, yeah, I can come to terms with that.
And compromise really is one of these things like my wife needs to know that I'm willing to sacrifice for her, right? She needs to know that. She needs to know that I'm willing to give up some of myself, which is being right or winning and whatever things are, right? And it doesn't mean that it has to be like that for always and all the time, because compromise becomes so much easier when you are literally just trying to lift the conversation, which means you're not trying to fight dirty, under the table, passive-aggressive comments. You're really trying to find common ground. You really care about coming to a good resolution that's best for both people, and you're trying to be more positive in the conversation than you are about driving it deeper and deeper and deeper into whatever the hurt or the pain is. When we start lifting it up and our partner knows that we have each other's best interest at heart, like we really believe that this is a team, our partner will be more trusting and more willing to listen and hear what we're trying to say. Mm-hmm. Like you just always want to win. Like you always care about being right. You always care about these things. And there is a partner isn't just going to be like, fine, I'm giving in. Every time I'm just going to give in. Just every time I'll let you win every single time. Every time. No, there's no value in that. Mm-hmm. There isn't. There's no balance in that. Mm-mm. And so we have to understand that our goal with the conversation as a whole is really trying to lift that whole conversation up. Find common ground. Use your words kindly, respectfully, and in a loving way, and show your partner that you really do care about a resolution that's favorable for both of you.
So I want to, because we're going to read the letters again and what the letters mean in the word real. But I really like to recap just what the phrases are that go with them. Yeah. So it's, I see you, I hear you, I feel you, and I'm with you. And those are very powerful statements in and of itself to say to your spouse. I mean, as soon as you say to your spouse, like, hey, I'm with you. I'm here. Like, I'm on the same team. I'm not going anywhere. We are going to come to a resolution with this. We are going to figure this out. That confidence right there sparks, a healthier debate and things like that within the relationship.
Yeah. And if you don't know anything about Kristy and I, we've talked a lot about this in our past as we started doing these things called bathroom talks in the beginning. And one of our main things was we didn't want to argue or be in deep discussions around our children.
Fight.
Right?
We don't want
to fight, right? We don't want to do any of that stuff. So the bathroom was the closest thing, and we could close the door, and we went in there, and we would go in there and spend an hour, 2 hours, 3, 4 hours sometimes in discussion. But we learned that we had to start applying what these things are to be fruitful in that time that we're in there. We're taking up time away from our children, time away from our family, and, time away from going and enjoying and doing things to really try and come to a true resolution in something. Because we understand as a blended family is really what you're doing is you're bringing hurt from past relationships and you're bringing it into a new relationship. And you have to start learning how to make things work with your new relationship. And you're bringing a lot of mistrust, a lot of issues that you're probably already carrying some baggage. And how are you going to fight through that? Well, if you continue to do the same thing you used to do, you're going to get the same outcome that you had before. And that's never the goal, right? We want to work hard on communicating in such a special way that brings closer intimacy and trust and value into our relationship. And that's with being real. That's with these 4 things. I love these.
I do too. I mean, and let's be honest. So a lot of the arguments, I don't know about for Josh, but a lot of the arguments in the beginning with me, a lot of the heated debates and stuff, some of it was just frustration because I didn't want to have to be dealing with his ex-wife. Okay.
It's true. I agree
I
with
didn't want his ex-wife in knowing anything about our family or being involved in anything with our family. And the reality of this situation is it's just not reality, right? Like
She's part of our family, whether we like it or not.
Yeah. He had children with her. So in the beginning, it just took a lot for me to get over a lot of that anger because I didn't want to be dealing with her in the first place. No. So I didn't want to hear her name. I didn't want her, like, he's like, okay, well, we have to because this. I don't want to talk about her. So then I would be taking a lot of that frustration and everything out on him because I didn't want him, deep down, if I'm going to be honest, dealing with her either. But he had to. So it's recognizing those feelings, talking about them. Like, listen, I know that you don't want to deal with her. I don't want to deal with her either, but we have to for the next 10 years, 11 years, however long it was. And so what's the best way for this specific situation that we're in right now? What's our best line of defense, our best approach with dealing with it, with the kids and her and everything else? And then we'd have to just do it at a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, you know, the number one reason why people end up in divorce or the major problem in marriages is poor communication. Not having a healthy way to speak to each other. We allow things to fester because we have very different communication levels or different styles. And we just are like, okay, I'm just not going to talk about it, or I'm going to be passive aggressive about it. I'm going to be all these things. And then when it festers and gets so big, it feels like the mountain's too tall to tackle. And it's just never absolutely the truth with that. There's always an approach to that. And if you begin every conversation with a form of humility, and trusting that, you know what, God, lead me in this conversation with my spouse. Like, I do care about my spouse. I do love her. I do love him. Like, I really want to find a solution that's going to work best for our family. Mm-hmm. And then start working towards that. In that solution, you can use these things. Something as simple as real, you know, really, I see you, I hear you, I feel you, I'm with you, you know. And when we start to do that, we start to build back in trust and belief and hope in our relationship. And that communication starts to evolve in a way where we don't have to dig super deep on every conversation because we have trust and hope and belief that, you know, at the end of the conversation, you know, we really want the best what's for each other. And that's our marriage and our family.
Lifting the conversation, though, is really, really important thing because Josh used to paint me into a corner in a good way. Like, I'd be mad or we'd be arguing about something. And then finally he'd just look at me and be like, listen, I don't want to argue about this. Like, our relationship is better than that. And I'm just like, because what am I going to say? Like, no, it's not. Our relationship is not better. We're going to argue about this. You know, so then I would have to be like, yeah, our relationship is better than that. Dang it. You know, and so that's lifting the conversation, you know, is calling, like, we're better than this. We can talk better than this. We can communicate better than this. Let's elevate each other.
Yeah, divorce rates, especially for second marriages and beyond, are over 70%.
When there's kids involved.
When there's kids involved, yeah. And I think when there's not kids involved, it's probably 69%, right? It's got to be close. But my point is that you're already on the losing end when you get into a second marriage. Mm-hmm. You're already, the odds are against you. So why aren't we doing things to try and beat those odds? Why aren't we trying to do things very different than what we've ever done before? Mm-hmm. The things that are uncomfortable, right? We got into a new relationship. Here we are. We're married. We're waiting. You know, God wants to bless this, but he's expecting us to put in the work.
And don't get another divorce.
What does no? Like, you don't have to. Like, it's unnecessary, right? And there's things that we can focus on to really make a difference in that. And it's uncomfortable for everybody in the beginning. It just is. But I can tell you, communication is the key binder to all the things inside the secret sauce. It is. But how are you going to do that, right? So I want to recap really quick. What is the real way to communicate and connect with your spouse? Number one is recognize emotion, right?
R.
I see you. The next letter is E, explore their story.
E.
I hear you. The next is attend to the deeper issue.
A.
I feel you. Next is lift the conversation.
L.
I'm with you.
Be real.
Right? Be real, not like the app. Well, if you want to download it, that'll be fine. But anyway, so how to be real in your relationship. All right? Let's start connecting with our spouses on a real level, a level that's going to elevate and take our relationship to the next level. Okay? Be encouraged this week. Do you have any final words before we take off?
Nope.
All right. She ain't got nothing to say to you folks. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. We will see you guys next Tuesday At 7, actually, we have an interview for you next week. So stay tuned. Next week, 7 p.m., we have an interview. You don't want to miss it.
That's right. Bye.